permission. Oh, actually, I'm recording now too, so you can record.
Oh, that would be way cool. All right, it's almost ready.
So I was talking to you guys. I could hear you talking about me. So we're going to give you a grand entrance of clapping.
All right, we are going live. Let me record. It is recording. I hope it didn't record all that time. Oh dear.
No. It's recording on mine. I don't know if it's recording on yours.
Oh,
it just said, it just now popped up, webinars now streaming live. So that just came up.
Perfect. All right, record on this computer. Good. All right, we are live on Facebook. This is an exciting and wonderful day. This is the launch of the Game Changer 3, Volume 3. And we have with us Natalie McQueen, she's with Spotlight Publishing, like myself, Jackie Simmons, Kathleen Carlson, Denise Thomas, and Darlene Cockrell. And these four ladies have written a chapter in the Game Changer on inspirational lives that just transformed something. I need to reword that. That's the imperfection of it all. It's inspirational stories that change lives, not inspirational lives that change stories.
Wow.
So what we wanted to ask you today is, how has being a part of this book series, The Game Changer, for some, it's the first time they've shared a story. For others, they've shared stories, but maybe not as vulnerable as this story that you shared in this book. I'd like to open up the conversation as to how has that made a difference for you? Jackie, can we start with you?
Sure. Yeah. My Game Changer story has been a life changer moment. I didn't know that I had a game changer story, and it was only in the conversation around what would I write about that it was like, can I write about this? I mean, it's not about my business. It has nothing to do with anything I've ever done before. And they're like, well, sure, it lights you up, write about it. So I really appreciated all the support. What I understand now is that what I wrote about was actually a second generation PTSD experience. And I didn't even know there was such a thing. You know, my dad was a vet of Vietnam. And as a Vietnam veteran, he came back with a bunch of stuff that I didn't understand when I was 8 years old. And when I was 58 years old and had this experience 50 years later, I didn't know that that's what it was. And so being able to write about it made it possible for me to actually understand it. And now for me to take that knowledge, add it to the work that I do with helping people resolve their mental and emotional blocks around success and money and sales, and bring that together. And so it's really changed my world. And I highly recommend that everybody write about their game-changing moments, because it makes a difference when you can find the voice behind the story.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Yeah, so true. How about you, Kathleen?
It's kind of like Jackie said, you just start writing, and I didn't have this big, front to end theory in my head or how this was all going to turn out, but I just started writing, and I actually had to go through my editor twice because I kind of put things in and took them out and put them in, and she's like, I know this is going back in. This is a big part of it. I've always been pretty private. I like people. I'm an outgoing person, but when it comes to like people seeing my soul, like most of us, a little more guarded. Yeah, exactly. Peekaboo. So I guess the biggest change was realizing how many things I've gone through that I really just dealt with myself and didn't really put out there to even the closest of friends. My sister-in-law, she's been in my family for 35 years. And she said, how does this happen? I've known you 35 years and I read this in a book, kind of thing. And it was like, I just don't know that I had a point to really share all that. And so I think for me, it's, I think the ones closest to us sometimes don't know us the way that other people know us. You know, sometimes it's easier to share. I don't want to say with strangers, but, you know, newer people in your life or friends, or you become friends in different ways, right? So it was like a super good reminder that, you know, at the end of the day, at the end of a lifetime, you want to make sure the people that should know you do know you. And so it, you know, it said to me, you know, we've all got stuff. We've all had things happen. And so I didn't die when I opened it up and shared it, right? And in fact, I think it totally enriched our relationship. So I think, yeah, it's been really, really good. And like Jackie, I recommend it. And I want to do more of it. So, you know, it's like, yeah, well, what about this? What about, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, it's
I think that, sharing our story seems to set it free. You know, it just kind of releases it out to the world, and it's no longer something that you're covering up, you're hiding, or just keeping bottled up inside.
Exactly.
People hear your story and then relate and go, me too. Oh my gosh, I had a similar experience. You think you're the only one until you really share.
Exactly.
And the beauty of it is that the world we live in now, look at what we're doing here with Facebook Live and technology. We're from all over the world, and, you know, all over the US at least, and Canada. And we're able to sit here and talk as if we're in each other's living room. And we have Amazon now, and we have all the digital stuff that we can do to share our stories in a more powerful way. It's not just our small local community. So it's really
to learn from each other, because every story I read was better than the last one. And it was like, that is so cool. And as you think about the people and the way you know them, say in our group, for example, it's like, I wouldn't have picked that out. I wouldn't have known. And it gives you a whole different appreciation and enrichment of the people you're with.
Very good. How about for you, Denise?
I think I have to agree with both Jackie and Kathleen. I didn't think I had a story to start with, but when I started really just writing about my life and going through it, I guess chronologically, where I am today, I didn't even remember all the things that I wrote about. It was not, quote, part of my conscious existence right now. And in going through the writing process, like, oh, holy cow, the things that all of us, and it's not just, you know, us on this video, but what everybody goes through, it becomes part of who you are. It makes up your personality, how you relate to other people, how you are able to empathize, because you go through stuff. We all do. And I think that's part of God's plan. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger, right? And that strength that you have coming out of whatever the issue was allows you to help other people, you know, and you don't even realize that that's what you're doing, you know, until you write it down and go, oh my gosh, you know. And like you, Kathleen, I had friends that I've known for 40 years now that read it and said, I had no idea. You know, I lived with you for 4 years, you know, in college.
Yeah.
Well, we can't get through life without a story. We really can't. That's just part and parcel of the journey that we're on, you know. Darlene.
Thank you. When I was invited to include my story in the Game Changer, I knew that I would be digging through cobwebs to get back there. And it was, you know, my story took place around 20 years ago, and it was a lot of adversity, a lot of turmoil. And, you know, I had shared it with individuals just one-on-one, but never really put it out there publicly. And so it was immediately I realized, okay, you're going to put this out there publicly. And I have a pretty big presence in my world of real estate. You know, I work with families facing foreclosure, and it reminded me while I was digging through, you know, as Kathleen and Denise said, like revising and coming up with what made sense, you know, to put out there. It reminded me the foundation of my business is based on the adversity that I went through. And so it reminded me that, you know, my business is about helping people and helping people understand that, you know, there is life on the other side. It is at a moment in your life, you have to take things day by day at times. And it's really difficult because you see the big picture, whatever the turmoil that someone's going through, it's so hard. And until others step up and support you as you're going through it, until others help you. You know, I like to tell people in my world how to eat an elephant. It's so big, you have to take it one bite at a time. And when you go through those distressed moments in your life, if someone doesn't support you to look at just right now, and it helped me go back there again. And so it was exciting. It's amazing how when our focus is on other people, getting through our own stress and turmoil becomes a lot easier. And so writing that story is great for others. And all those stories in that book are amazing. And it's also beneficial to take me back full circle to that place in my life.
As you look back, and in writing it, it's a lot of introspection where you kind of look back and say, wow, I've come a long ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
What's awesome to see is I met most of you before knowing your stories. So you see strong business women and that you're reaching out and helping other people and making a difference. And you read the stories and it's exactly what you say. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You're such strong women that now have taken your journey and are using it to do good. So thank you guys. It was wonderful working with you and reading your stories and getting to know you better.
Thank you.
So as Iman says in his foreword, you never know what somebody's going through, so be kind always.
Yes.
And that I always remember his comment about that, because we meet each other at these events and we surface get to know each other, but we don't really deeply get to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
And by the opening up and sharing in the way that we are doing this, in a book that's going international, and lots of readers, we are kind of laying ourselves open, but it's with a purpose in mind, and that is that leads to the next question, which I think is Natalie's to ask.
Sure. So what message do you want readers to, they're reading and what message do you want them to walk away with?
If you don't assign it to somebody, I'll take it.
Oh, sorry, Jackie.
I like good, orderly direction.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the message that I would want people to take away from reading my story, is that you don't know where your good, orderly direction is going to drop into your life from.
Right.
And my game-changing scenario brought together Canadians who I met in Mexico. It brought me into the world of veteran services through Goodwill Veteran Services, where I had no intention of ever going. And that's what I put in the book was, this was not my tribe. It's not like this was something that was planned or organized or whatever, but the universe put these synchronistic things in place. And my whole message to the world is simply, what if you could open yourself up to be able to be aware of the direction that's being handed to you a little faster, a little easier, without needing to have the big dramatic moments? What if you could get there more easily?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
What about you, Denise?
I think for me, it's more perspective, because as I was writing my story, I realized, and of course reading it afterwards, I realized that we all go through stuff, and that's what we're talking about here. Everybody on this earth goes through stuff. I don't care if you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth or what have you, there's still stuff. You have to go through it. It's just part of being human. And while we are engaged in that trial, so to speak, it's hard to see past it. It really is. I mean, because you're in the thick of the crap. And for me, and for my story, I think what I really want people to take away from it is perspective. yes, everything is horrible right now. It can't be any more terrible for you, whatever the situation is. Promise you, we've all been through it. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. I swear to you, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm hoping that people look at these stories, every one of them, and realize, you know, if this other person can go through this, I can get through it. You know, there is light. There is a way of coming through it. It's perspective. It's looking at it from a different angle. You can poor pitiful me if you really want to, but that's not a requirement. You can look at it from another perspective and realize, I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to be able to help other people through it when I get through it. So for me, it would be perspective.
I call it living the rear view mirror kind of life, where you're always looking back. And so we do have a choice. We can choose to move forward, or we can always look back at the things that are the poor me kind of things, you know, but how does that serve? It doesn't serve. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve anybody.
Every one of these stories, if you look at them, there's hope. Every one of them, there is hope within and outside of the story. You know,
beautiful.
Darlene?
The message that I hope people take away from the story is not to handle the troubles on your own. It is too heavy. And when you're going through that in life, it's so difficult. And, you know, the title to my chapter is Let Go and Let God. So whoever your higher being is that our world is so much bigger than what we can see. And for me, it's praying. When you pray for an answer and you let people in, sometimes we're so embarrassed by our situations. You know, we just think, you know, like Denise said, we're all going through something. People don't believe that at that time. It's just an embarrassment to share it with others, and that carrying that burden is crushing. And so when you let go of it, your answers will come to you. When you just are willing to say, I've come to the end of myself. To me, that's the message. That's where I got through, is I got to the end of myself and I said, please help. I can't do anything else. And when you get to that place, that's allowing people to come in. So hopefully, you know, the stronger you are, the harder you hit. And so if you allow yourself not to be that strong, independent woman, for example, you know, you allow yourself to be weak and say, please help me. That's the message, is allow people in and allow people to help you, because there's so many wonderful people in this world and in your world, everybody, that are willing to step up and help take that burden away. And so that's the key. It's not an easy task. You know, it's simple, but it's not easy just to say, those in my life, those in my world, hey, I'm going through this. And so that's the message that I want them to get out of it.
Right. Sometimes it's the shame, guilt, and fear that hold back. And if you can get past those things, to the courage to make the change, it's all that makes the difference. But a lot of times it's the shame, guilt, and fear that hold us back, you know.
We feel like we need to solve everything ourselves and keep it in and be those strong women. And what people sharing their story, what we've heard just with the other authors, that they had such great feedback saying, me too. And so we need to open up and start, you know, sharing our feelings and asking for help if we need help.
Exactly.
And Kathleen?
Well, I was just thinking, as everybody went around, we have direction, we have perspective, and we have asking for help or allowing help. And I'm going to add responsibility and movement, because I think what I hope you take away from mine is that, you know, like everybody has said, we all have things that are happening to us, and each of us had one chapter to write. So we got a little piece of what's happened in our life on these pages. And we all know there's more. But I'm a really big believer that once you sort of understand, this is what happened to me and this is why I am the way I am, okay, then the story's over, and now it's time to take responsibility. Now it's time to say, okay, I get it. I know how I got here. I know what happened to me. And I also know that I have everything inside of me to take responsibility and live the life that I want to live. And that's what I hope my message came across as, you know, in my case, it was a physical move that was part of the big game changer in this chapter. You know, you're born into an area that just isn't conducive to the kind of life you think you want to live, or what I believed I was born to be. And so moving 2,200 miles away from everybody that I know, and I love my family, and I go there, and I'm not, you know, there's not a problem there, but it wasn't the place for me, and I knew that. And so having the courage and just the responsibility to take my life in another direction. And because of it, I've been so blessed to run into people that can help me and that will help me. And so many doors have been opened, and I'm so grateful. And there are people that are so willing to show you the way and say, okay, come on, you know, because if you're willing to look, you're going to see. And I have found that over and over and over. And you can't get enough of other people's perspectives, honestly. And to do that, you have to be confident in yourself. You have to be, you know, willing to hear. And so I think that's the message that I would hope that you get across, that any one of us can start over at any time. And I was saying, if I'm having a bad day, I'm going to give it, you know, X amount of time, and then I'm starting over. And I don't care if it's noon, I don't care if it's 3, you know. There have been very few days in my whole life where I can say from start to finish, it was just a tough day. You just start over. And we all have that choice. And I feel the responsibility, because we impact ourselves, we impact others. So yeah, I think mine's a story about, you know, choosing and to take responsibility for yourself and change your life if you don't like it.
Exactly.
I love that.
You don't have to stay stuck.
You don't.
Right.
You don't have to, you know, yes, it's you're living whatever this horrible thing is, but you don't have to stay there. You know, yeah, at some point in time, maybe it will, maybe it won't end, but regardless, you don't have to stay stuck there. You can make changes. There's always an opportunity. You just have to look for it. You have to be willing to look for it. Like you said, Kathleen, take responsibility for your life right now. Okay, so maybe something happened to you, and you were not maybe responsible for what occurred, but you are responsible for what happens next. You are responsible for your life, what happens next. So,
like you said, Denise, suffering is optional, right?
So what is some of the feedback that you have been getting from some of the readers that have read your book so far? And let's start with Darlene.
First and foremost, people say, I had no idea. And that in fact is our story, is our message, right? People have no idea. And just so many compliments and so many just kudos for how far you've come. And generally some just heartfelt hugs from people, and it was just amazing, you know, brought tears, and you know, again, just reliving and knowing that every one of us, you know, should pay it forward. And so people were just thankful for the reminder in their own lives as well. So that's kind of what it was.
Very beautiful.
Kathleen?
I've had such an array. It's funny. You know, there's people that remember things differently, or, you know, especially if they were on the male side of the world, and they're like, seriously, you felt like that? And it's like, I had no idea. And it's like, of course you didn't, you know, of course you didn't, you know? So, and then people that sort of, because I kind of consider it that life and this life, because I think I'm really two different people. I live two different ways, I should say. And some of the people here are like, I've got, dude, you're a badass, you know? And it's like, yeah, you know, you just really up and left. And it's like, yeah, you know, you can too. And, you know, some people are just like, you know what, I love you even more now. I can't even stand it, you know? So, and I think there's probably a little bit of, did you really put that on paper kind of thing? You know, some of the closer, there's a, you know, cause you're not just exposing yourself sometimes, right? So there's a little bit of, did you really just do that? And a little bit of a pause and hesitation, but those are the good moments. Those are where we get our chance to talk about, you know, and people are sharing with me, which is amazing, you know. Oh yeah, I want to tell you about what happened with me too. Now that you've said it, I can say it. So, you know, which is exactly what you want, right? So, yeah, it's been really good. Really good.
Denise?
I got both those same responses. There was the I didn't know, and then there's the, I wasn't even sure my husband was going to let me tell the story, because part of my story is, of course, the 30 years that we've been married, right? So I wasn't even sure, because as you mentioned, the male population has a different viewpoint of certain things. So I wasn't really sure he was going to be okay with that. But as he was reading it, and I'm about to get flustered, as he was reading it for the first time, he started getting teary-eyed. And because it was so raw, I think that we all put ourselves out there, and it was really, a lot of what I heard from friends was, why am I crying? We really did. I think everybody who wrote in the book, we really did lay it out for real. This was raw. This is the real feelings and what really occurred. So,
and probably looking back and reliving some of those moments, and then seeing where you are now has to be, that roller coaster.
And always for the families, is when a chapter or even a whole book is written about your life experience, there's quite an impact on the family or those that were involved. And so that's always that, okay, how do we balance that, and how do we, I know when I wrote mine, I pretty much, my whole book that I wrote, I changed names, I changed places, I changed a lot of things so that it wouldn't make an impact on my family, but it still made an impact. They knew what I was saying, and yet it has caused a lot of healing.
Even for me, just writing it gave me my own perspective as to why is it that I do what I do. And I think both Darlene and Jackie have also mentioned that as you're writing your story, you're realizing, oh, this is why I'm so passionate about, my job, my business, because I've had this experience, and I really don't want others going through that experience. Be a help on that end. So,
yeah. And Jackie, how about you?
Well, the first feedback I got, I'm the youngest of 4 girls, and so that was part of the story. And the first feedback I got from my sisters was, the oldest one said, I don't remember it that way. I don't think I was there. The second one said, I had no idea that you were that alone. Big family.
Yeah.
And the third one said, oh, let me tell you my story. And so it does open doors when we are willing to put it in writing. And of course, I had my sisters as my first readers of my raw material. And it was like, okay, put all of that aside. Let's get feedback from somebody who doesn't think that they know the story. The real feedback, though, that I've gotten has been how the story has continued to unfold for me. I don't think stories like this ever end. And so the events that I wrote about from my game-changing moment have ended up creating a game-changing moment for one of my daughters. And she's gone from being in a wheelchair and not cognitive to now being able to walk without a walker and to participate in my life. She's actually doing work with me now in my business. And so the story continues to unfold. We don't know where it's going to go or how it's going to ripple. And so the feedback I've been getting is that this has got ripples. You
got legs.
You want to change the world, write a story. Yeah, write your story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say that, it's been such a pleasure to work with each one of you and to read the stories, because as we edit and go through it, we sometimes read the story many times, and each story has had such power. But the beautiful part about it also is that each one of you have been willing to take this path and cooperate and make it something where it's made a social footprint, a footprint for you, for your success in business, but also, in the process of getting reviews and the process of having any kind of endorsements for the book. Everybody's cooperated. So we have a nice mix and blend of the feedback of how we're impacting. And you see the reviews. In Canada, there's, I think this morning there were 17 reviews. In the US, it was 25 reviews. And they're great reviews. They're beautiful. And some put 4 stars, some put 5 star. So it's a mix and a blend, but it's the true, honest feelings of the feedback that comes. And Natalie and I didn't used to do our book launches this way. We always just did the launch day. And implementing the pre-launch with getting it reviews from key people that we knew would be of support for this. For each one, it's made a powerful impact, because now when people see the Game Changer, right away they've got reviews to look at. And who of us don't look at the reviews when we're going to purchase something?
Yeah.
So thank you to each one of you for being there, to actively participating, to really getting the feel of what it is to become a published author, and what it takes to really make a lasting impact through not just one book, but probably as we move forward in life, more books to come for each one of you.
Yeah.
So it's been quite something, a journey for Natalie and I as well, because we work with a lot of authors, and every story is just impactful and makes such a difference. And in our sphere, we work with amazing stories from all over the world, and each story touches us in a different way. And I think it allows us to grow. And that's what we gained from each one of you. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure. Couldn't have been any easier for a first time, and couldn't have asked for 2 more beautiful ladies to support us. So appreciate you both. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And since I'm not a first-time author, I'm going to say this was the best book writing experience I have. And I've got, as you know, I'm going to be working with you again.
Awesome. Very good. Good. Well, we're going to stop our recording and stop Facebook Live. And, somebody else you're recording too, Jackie. It's fine. But thank you, each one of you. And you'll be able to share this out as soon as it processes on my Facebook. I'll put the link to the book, and you guys can each share it out. I'll tag